Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the youth sports community.
A community striving to enhance youth sports.
I'm Taylor Medak.
I'm Sean Connauton.
And I'm Matt Mah.
Thank you for joining us today. The youth sports community is proudly presented by Nuance Hockey and Mah Golf.
Nuance Hockey provides detail-driven on- and off-ice development in the Edmonton area. For more information, please visit our website at nuance.hockey and follow us on social media.
Mah Golf provides elite coaching for golfers of all skill levels at the Millwoods Golf Club in Edmonton. Our apparel is provided by Bird & Barley. Prairie-inspired, golf-focused. To receive 15% off your next order, please visit birdandbarley.com and use our promo code YSC15.
This episode is produced by Nick Hussey of Hussey Multimedia, and hydration is provided by Earthwater. We are very excited to have Raju Virk joining the community for today's podcast episode.
Raju is the founder of Breaking the Silence, a community initiative dedicated to mental health awareness and support. Inspired by his late best friend, Surgeon Singh Sangera.
A passionate soccer coach and mentor for over 15 years, Raju is the organizer of 3 annual fundraising events. Breaking the Waves, held annual on April 25th, the Breaking the Silence Walk Run, June 14th, and the Surgeon Singh Sangera Memorial Golf Tournament, August 16th, raising over $300,000 for mental health organizations in the past 10 years.
The Walk Run, a free and inclusive event for the whole family, welcomed over 2,500 participants last year and featured 36 mental health organizations. Net proceeds from BTS events last year were donated to the Edmonton Public School Foundation in support of their mental health therapist project, supporting teen mental wellness.
Raju remains committed to silencing the stigma and fostering open conversations while prioritizing mental health in the community. Together, we will break the silence around mental health.
I met Raju on a flight in December of 2022. I was streaming the World Cup final between Argentina and France when he walked by and asked if he could join us. We stayed in touch and became great friends ever since. Raj, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here, and welcome to the youth sports community. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, boys. Thanks for having me here.
Well, let's start off. Well, actually, we got to get this out of the way because Sean and I, are part of the champions that won your tournament, or Surgeons tournament this past summer. So we need to acknowledge that. That was a lot of fun, and it was a great time. But let's start with you and your first memories of participating in youth sports. What comes to mind when we say that?
Yeah, well, you know what? It actually goes all the way back to my junior high days. For me, I was big in soccer. I was big in wrestling. A lot of people, when they say wrestling, they're like, really, wrestling? So yeah, it was junior high when I first took up wrestling, TD Baker. And it was one of those things, my family, so my uncle, my dad, they were kind of big growing up into the Olympic style wrestling. I'm not talking about WWE or anything here. I'm not like, Razor Ramon right now, but I'm talking about like legit, Olympic style wrestling. So I still remember grade 7, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try out for the team and let's see if I can make it. And I made it. Actually that year I lost in the city final. So I got silver. And I was just dedicated. I'm like, man, I got to do this again next year. So next year, the following year was actually the year to make the Alberta Winter Games. And that was something that was really special and will still stay very dear to me. So the tryouts were actually here on the West End school, DS Mackenzie. The tryouts are actually pretty crazy. It was, so the boy, and you call it gentleman now, he was actually going to that school, and he was like one of the favorites for my weight class to make it to this, the Alberta team. And I remember I didn't eat anything that day, and I was just like, going into my matches, winning it. And I still remember the second last match before I went to the finals, I was actually wrestling his basically his schoolmate and his buddy. And all I'm still remembering is him just by the mat saying, crush this guy, crush this guy. So finally, I beat his buddy, and I had no idea they were announcing my name to go wrestle in the finals. I legit had just finished. So I go to the table letting them know, hey, I just won. And they're like, oh, we've been, announcing your name. You got to go wrestle right now. And I'm like, I just finished. They're like, well, you got to go finish your finals. So the final starts, and I mean, he was a strong individual at this time, and I was just bagged.
Oh, I bet.
So mentally, I'm just like, man, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And I still remember my uncle was there, and there was a couple people that were trying out for the team too that were there as well, and my uncle's just slapping the mat, going, go Raj, go Raj. And I still remember to this day, and we still talk about it and laugh. And I remember I couldn't pin him, but I won on points. And after, the coach that was actually the teacher there for the team comes up to me. He goes, man, I'm so proud of you.
Wow.
He goes, I did not want that kid to make the team. And obviously you made it, so thank you. You know?
Wow.
So then we went off to Alberta. I actually lost in the finals. I got silver. And I still remember my coach, actually, my actual coach at TD Baker, Al Lowry, he told me, he goes, Raj, one day, I think you're going to make the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
High school comes and that all dropped. But that was honestly like one of my biggest moments, I would say. Like, I mean, just knowing that I was going into a sport I had no idea. And, you know, in that really short, you know, time, what I kind of accomplished was pretty achieving and big for me at that
Yeah,
time.
no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, let's maybe go back a little bit because, you know, nowadays when you talk to kids and if they're starting a sport in junior high, that's typically considered pretty late.
Yeah.
So, you know, talk about that a little bit, how, you know, that, like you said, it was a short exposure period to wrestling.
Yeah.
When did you initially start compared to, you know, that kind of highlight moment?
Well, when I started the wrestling, it was grade 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, not grade 10. Grade 7.
Grade 7.
So grade 7, grade 8, grade 9. Like I said, I lost the first year in cities, and then the other years I ended up winning, then making the team too.
Wow.
But for me, like I said, it was because I was still playing soccer at that time,
Yeah.
you know, doing pretty good. But it was something that I wanted to really do because my uncle and my dad had kind of done something like that.
Yeah.
They never had played soccer. So I was like, you know what? If they've done this, I want to try this.
Right.
Now, for me, you know, I personally don't think it was too late for me to start.
Right.
Especially with wrestling. I think that's kind of a good age to start with. But it was just, you know, once high school hit, everything kind of changed.
Right.
You know, which I don't say I have regrets in life, but that's one thing I wish I kind of had stuck to. But it's just, you know, with things changing where, you know, your circle of friends change. I'll be honest, where my coach at that time, Al Lowry, in grade 7 to grade 9, he was a mentor, right? Like, he really mentored me. And that's where, you know, I kind of bring in Mike Tyson. You know, after his coach had passed away, he was a disaster.
His personal life was,
Yeah.
Well, he needed the help too. Like, he really pulled him out of the bad situation.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, I find that you need good mentors to have, especially at a young age, to keep pushing them, keep driving them, right? And that's just the thing. I think that's where I personally think that I needed that at that time, where, you know, it just wasn't there.
Right. And so he was your coach within the school system. And I guess that's probably one of the challenges of having a school sport. Obviously, there's some benefits of it. But when you age out, that coach can't come with you. He's still staying in the junior high ranks. Right?
Yeah, well, he was a teacher at the school. And then, like I said, a coach too. And I laugh because it's kind of cool. The school that TD Baker that I went to, now my daughter is going to.
Oh, cool.
My oldest one, Zara. And then Zaina, she'll be going in a couple of years. But I've coached a lot of kids in soccer that have gone to that school.
Yeah.
My name's on the banner. So the first thing, you know, you got to kind of brag.
Point it out, just like we did.
100%. Exactly, right? I mean, it's not cocky. It's just confidence. Like, hey, did you go see my name? And, you know, to this day, you know, someone will snap a picture and be like, yeah, I seen your name on the banner.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, it's a big accomplishment. And it's kind of good knowing, and especially these kids that I've taught and even your kids, that, hey, you know, my dad or my coach, you know, he wasn't just a plug. He was someone that actually did good, you know, for himself too. But that's just the thing, like you had kind of touched on, Sean. It's kind of too bad that the coaches don't sometimes go through the rankings.
Right.
Because let's be honest, I mean, we've all have had coaches. There's some good ones and there's some really bad ones.
Yeah.
Right? So the bad ones will really turn you off from the sport compared to the good ones that will keep motivating you.
Right. Yeah. Were you able to stay in touch with him still a little bit after?
Yeah, he actually came to my wedding.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
I like I said, I reached out to him. I went and seen him when he was a principal at one of the schools, and I was like, "Listen, Mr. Lowry." He's like, you know, you can call me Al now, right? And I'm like, "No, Mr. Lowry, you know, like I really want you to be here." You know, he's like, "Yeah, I'll be there for sure."
Cool.
You know, and it's kind of cool because there's a lot of kids that knew him, you know, at the wedding that, you know, that was their teacher too, and him being there, like just a stand-up individual.
Yeah. Oh, that's a super cool story.
Yeah.
So how about for soccer? Was soccer something that you started a little bit younger, maybe in your elementary years?
Yeah. So soccer. So for me, I'm obviously like a first generation, you know, Canadian out here. Soccer back then wasn't where it is now, especially making it on club teams. Like now there's like tons of clubs, right? Like now, you know, it's not as meaningful to make a club team as it was back then. Right. So growing up, you know, played with Millwood Selects, and at that time it was Millwood's Warriors. But back then, I remember in grade 6, I actually broke my ankle, and broke it pretty bad. And, you know, I'd made Millwood Selects at that time. You know, you're a young kid, you're kind of cocky, thinking, "Hey, I made it. I'd wear my tracksuit every single day."
Oh, yeah.
And I was at this DATS event with my best friend Ricky and his family. Funny enough, you guys won't even guess who broke my ankle. He's actually the mayor right now. So
No.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
He didn't mean to though. He was actually with DATS at that time, and you know, I went in for a tackle, went in too weak. He came in hard, and boom, gone. You know, I still see him obviously, and we still laugh about it, but I still remember breaking my ankle, and everyone's like, "Hey, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." It's like, no, I ain't gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So we go to the Medi Center. Medi Center is like, "You guys got to get some X-rays. Go get some X-rays." X-rays are like, "Yeah, it's a broken ankle." We're at Grey Nuns. Grey Nuns like, "We can't do anything here. Go to the university. Go to the university hospital. Put me under." Luckily, I didn't have to get a rod or screw in.
Yeah.
But that actually kind of messed up my soccer ability to kind of go further.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that is psychologically.
Yeah.
Right? Psychologically at a young age, and especially back then, you know, you didn't have all these physiotherapists, all these extra training to get better, you know, from your injuries and stuff. It was literally you take your cast off and go at it.
Get back at her.
Back at her, right? Like the treatments now and what you can do after an injury is just, it's epic.
Right.
You know? So, I mean, I still kept playing, you know, at a higher level and stuff, but it just wasn't the same.
Right.
You know, especially after breaking that ankle and just not getting the treatment that I needed.
Right.
Compared to like, break it now and I guarantee you I can get better treatment.
Right. For sure.
You know?
Well, and do you think too, you know, obviously mental health is going to be a big theme of our conversation today. Do you think, you know, you mentioned the psychological impact of that traumatic injury. Do you think, you know, some mental health resources potentially at that time could have been helpful as well? Like obviously the physical, like you said, the physiotherapy, the rehab. But do you think, you know, having somebody there who you could talk to and process that trauma to, you know, maybe get back to it would have been helpful as well?
The first thing that comes to my mind is sports psychologist.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, at an age like that, I think it's kind of good to start introducing kids to a sports psychologist. So, you know, could it have made a difference? Possibly.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I said, now going into tackle psychologically, you're really like, man, I don't want to break my ankle again.
Yeah.
Right? So I think having a sports psychologist at that time, having like a trainer on the side to really get you back into like where you were at one point, I personally think it would have been big for me.
Yeah.
Right? Compared to like what these kids now have, it is like it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, the technology that's out there, the programs that they're out there, the like I said, the sports psychology that's out there. It's massive.
Yeah.
For people to actually come back after their injuries.
How was, you know, you mentioned the psychological aspect of going into a tackle or trying to make a play but maybe holding back. Like how paramount was that in your thoughts and in your game that you're like holding back a bit, like, oh my God, I'm not going to go for this tackle, it's holding me back?
I'd say it was big. And the reason why it was big is because I know for a fact it wasn't healed the way it should have been healed, right? I didn't do the full rehab. I didn't know what to do for rehab, first of all, right? Now, I think if, like I stated before, if I had started doing the rehab, then psychologically I would have started to get more and more, I think strong, right? Where, if my ankle still is at 50% and I'm going into that tackle, well, I'm scared.
Right.
Yeah.
Mentally, I'm just like, man, I don't want to go into a cast again.
Right.
And have this injury again.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
totally. Did you find that wrestling was a good sort of transition because it was still competitive? You'd mentioned your uncle and your dad had experience with it, but you didn't necessarily have to worry about your ankle specifically as much with wrestling?
100%.
Yeah.
At that point, because like I said, you're not really going into tackles.
Right.
And then it was like wrestling speed.
Right.
Like speed, and obviously I'm not a big dude, or I wasn't in the heavyweight categories and stuff. But for me, like I said, it was just speed and faking up, going down, getting the legs, getting them pinned down or whatever else.
Yeah.
That I truly, now that you guys even bring this up, I didn't even think about my injury.
Right.
I didn't even think about the ankle being messed up or whatever else. But then when it came down to playing soccer, then it's like I said, then it came back into, man, I can't go into a tackle that tough, right?
Right.
But definitely wrestling at that point was something that was like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's like wrestling seems more of a, not violent, but more physical sport than, than football / soccer. But to your points, like you didn't even think about, that's kind of interesting how that dynamic happens when you're in a more physical sport and there's more risk for injury. I think more than soccer. It's kind of, that's kind of interesting.
Well, you got to look at it this way too. In soccer, you have a soccer ball. Okay. That soccer ball, if you're not a goalie, isn't played by hands. It's played by feet.
Yeah.
Right. So with the feet, that's your ankles. And I get it, for your point is, you're bang on. It is more of a physical sport, but it's more tactical too.
Yeah.
Right. Where yes, you're using your feet. However, you're not using those feet to kick something. Right. And that wrestler is not going to be kicking your ankle either. Sure. You'll get a tackle or whatever. But I mean, I'm just saying this with confidence. I wasn't really tackled as much. But I guess maybe that's a good thing too.
Right.
That I was always on the offense. I wasn't really on the defense.
Right.
But I think that, when you see that ball psychologically, you're like, okay, that's what kind of...
Well, that environment brings back the memory, it triggers it right away. There's no way to get around it.
No, it's like you said, it's just a triggering moment.
Yeah.
Right. Compared to, like you said, wrestling.
It's a whole different environment and the different sports. You probably just don't even need to worry about it.
100%. Yeah.
So what do you think made you successful in wrestling? Do you think it was the the competitiveness, the fact that it was tactical? You're an athletic guy already at this point, but what are some of the kind of keys you think that led you to have that success? Obviously, you had a great mentor with Mr. Lowry there. But what are maybe some of the intangibles that allowed you to have the success in wrestling?
You know what? It was me against the world.
Okay.
It was legit me against the world. I mean, I love team sports. Team sports is everything. You got to be a team player to win. But at that point, it was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to not only prove to myself, but prove to my family too that I can pick up a sport and really dominate as well.
Yeah.
One thing about me, I have this very addictive personality, and very competitive as well, right? If I'm going to go do something, I'm going to go do it. I'm about to go run a marathon May 4th, and people are like, man, have you done a half? I'm like, why do half when you can do full?
Right.
I don't know if I can swear on this, but why half-ass it when you can go full out, right? And people are like, man, that's pretty crazy. But that's just the nature in me, right? I just want to go out and just go prove. The biggest is proving to myself that I can do it, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to fail. Yeah. Failure is one thing that I can't stand for. Failure, and obviously you apologize today with my keys and stuff, but being punctual, right? Punctual is very big too. And that's what I tell a lot of people too, that you got to be punctual in life.
Yeah.
If you can't be punctual, you already have a setback.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's the big thing that's lost on our, sound like old people, but our younger generation is that punctuality. It's, work starts at 5:00. you shouldn't be rolling in at 4:59. It's
No.
you need to be ready for work at 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what I
100%.
hear.
I was talking to my buddy Andy at work, who's also a sales manager, and he's always on time, and he was late the other day. Not late, but he was literally on time, right? And he's like, man, my pet peeve in life is literally running right on time. And I go, dude, that's exactly like me. Like, everything can go wrong at that point. You know, you can get a speeding ticket,
Yeah.
you can get in an accident. Who knows what can go
Maybe
on?
not even you in the accident. There could be an
No,
accident ahead of you.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just the thing. Like, when it comes down to it, like, it's all about being punctual to make yourself mentally prepared going into what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Right?
And where do you think some of those intangibles came from? Do you think that came from your family?
Yeah, I don't know. An Indian family?
Time is like
No.
use the sundial at
No,
night. kind of thing, right?
100%. Definitely not from the family. I'd have to say it's me. It was literally me. So I'll tell you guys a quick little story when it comes down to putting the alarm clock on.
Yeah.
I have a goal and a mission to always, always, always beat the alarm clock before it beats me.
Nice.
So essentially what that means is I'll always have the alarm clock on, but I can't even remember how many years it's been since I've let it ring. Like,
Wow,
I'll
good for
never,
you.
ever, ever let it ring. And that's psychologically for me. I'm like, if that thing rings, it beat me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I want to beat the alarm clock from getting up.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So, I mean, for me, it's always been from day one. Like, I'll always get up. I know when to get up. Like, you know, I have that alarm clock built in my mind.
Yeah.
Even for wrestling, our practices used to be like early. Like, I think 6:30, you know, it was right beside the house, which was nice. So I'd be up for it. Boom, gone. I think just me in general, just knowing that I just need to be not good, great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what I tell my sales guys too. You don't want to be good in life. You want to be great at what you do. You know, and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing for you to kind of, you know, have that come internally for yourself at such a young age. Were there any, you know, sport role models that maybe were helping you, you know, shape that type of mentality around being punctual, being competitive, being driven? Because again, you know, it's amazing to hear how much of that came from you. Just trying to find if there was a little bit of a source there where something was kind of pointing you in that direction.
Yeah, thinking about it, not really.
Really?
You know,
Okay.
I mean, sure, you know, the Brazilian R9 Ronaldo, like, I'm a
Yeah.
huge Brazilian soccer fan,
Yeah.
you know, like growing up watching it.
Yeah.
But it's not like I knew if he was punctual or not.
Sure.
You know, even like I said, I still remember Jag, he's actually one of the co-founders of Breaking the Silence too. You've met him as
Yeah.
well, Sean. And he's the worst punctual person. And hopefully he's listening to this podcast, because I'm calling him out. The worst when it comes down to being punctual. Like, I'll be telling him, okay, I'll be out. He lives close by. I'll be outside your house in exactly 2 minutes, and it's usually like a minute before. And he's literally grabbing his shoes, grabbing his jacket, 5 minutes late. I'm like, come on, man. One day will you be on time?
Yeah.
And he goes to me, he goes, man, I've never, ever met someone as punctual as you.
Yeah.
He goes, take that as a compliment and run.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's just me, I guess, right? It's just something that I've always taken pride in,
Yeah.
to being that punctual guy. You know, some people take, I think, pride to be the guy that's always late.
Yeah.
That, you know, thinking that people are going to clap that he's showing up late.
Yeah.
But no, I want to be that guy that is doing the clapping for the guy that showed up late.
Fashionably late.
Fashionably
Yeah.
late, right?
And in terms of like the training for wrestling, like what, you know, obviously those things have evolved over the years, but what kind of, you know, specific training were you trying to do to, you know, increase your ability within wrestling?
Actually, good question, Sean. A lot of training was done on the mat,
Yeah.
right? So it's too bad, you know, at TD Baker, they don't have the program no more. It's just apparently from what they said after, you know, I left, I think 1 year they did it after, but even Al Lowry had left. He was big into that wrestling scene. It just died down. But my training, when I got to that school, they didn't have any, you know, weights or anything. And then they started putting weights up top, which was nice. So, you know, I'd be doing weight training. I'd be doing, like I said, every morning, go in. Even if it wasn't mine, I'd be in the gym doing weight training. I'd be training on the mats. I actually got into the U of A program for wrestling as well too. So did that for a little bit there. But it was just really making sure that I was keeping my body, focused to wrestle, right? I'd go for jogs every whatever after school or whatever. If it's not playing soccer, then I'm going for jogs. But I was so active, so active, at a young age, at that age, like if you're not active, you're not going to be good.
Yeah.
You're, if you want to be great, you got to be putting the time and effort in order to really work your body to be great at it.
Now, were a lot of those you're mentioning going in early, like you're putting in the time?
Yeah.
Was a lot of that structured from Mr. Lowry in the school, or was a lot of that coming from, again, you just finding it within yourself to be like, hey, this is the work I need to do on top of the normal practice I get with the school?
So we were lucky that Mr. Lowry actually had a lot of wrestling times set up for us.
Okay.
So it was, kudos to him for having that. But then obviously on the side, I would be doing my own training as well.
Right.
In order to, compete at that level that I wanted to compete at.
Right.
But I find that, if you're doing sports, especially in school, if you don't practice at school, it is a little bit difficult for children to do it after. But I had that, like I said, I had that drive in order to push myself to continue working hard
Right.
to, adapt to this new sport that I was doing.
For sure. Yeah.
And what was the support from the parents at the time? Obviously you told us the story about, the tryout for the Alberta Winter Games, but what was it like in the conversations after matches with your parents, and sort of the support / feedback that you got from them during your wrestling tenure?
Yeah, you know what? In a way, it's kind of sad in the sense of, like I said, being a first generation Canadian. My parents, obviously being immigrants from India, it was tough for them to really even come out to watch, to support.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, they came here for a better life for us. Now, did they do that? Absolutely. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, would I have wanted them to be more involved in my sports? Yeah. Is it their fault? Absolutely not. Right? Like even my dad, I think it was in grade 12 or 8, he finally found out that I'm wrestling, that It was like, he was just so busy with life. But, kudos to my uncle that would always come out and support when, I needed the support. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not saying my dad would never come out, but he would come out, but just not as much as, now you get these parents that are always there.
Right.
Now it's just almost like too much. It's like, man, you guys need to kind of settle down.
Right.
But it was definitely a different upbringing when it came down to, me doing the sports. It was, me, and I still remember in soccer, I had a game. It was probably about 2 kilometers away from the other game I had to go play. So I played the one game, jumped on my bike, went to the other game, and I still remember there was actually a family friend of ours, and he was just out there training, running, and he's like, "Oh, you're here to play?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just played another one." He goes, "Okay, I'll watch." But and that was just the other thing too, that I was always just going out and doing it myself.
Yeah.
Compared to, like I said, now it's totally different. Now you'll never see a kid jump on a bike, go play a soccer game, jump on the bike and go play another game.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll be lucky if they even go play one sport or one game.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Like just thinking golf wise, like me and Sean used to like ride our bikes to the courses over here, and that was just a normal thing. Like I think I live 10-15 minutes from here on a bike. Yeah. We pick up another buddy, meet here, then we go, and then we're gone all day.
Yeah.
We were just no cell phones, nothing. We're just gone.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that too much now.
No, and I think he's that bang on too. No cell phones.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's like, I joke around, say if you're at the mall with a cell phone, well, obviously your cell phone's there, and your kid, the kid goes missing. You're like, the kid will come back. Cell phone goes missing. It's like, man, where's my cell phone? You're more worried about your cell phone than you are your own kid.
Right.
Like, shame on us. That's where it's come. But to your point, that back then there wasn't no cell phones. It's like, you're going to one game, you're going to another, and your parents are just like, hey, just make sure you're home before it gets dark.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, as you know, I've been sitting here kind of looking for that source of that self drive from you. Do you think that maybe that was part of it? Is that, like you said, your parents were busy. They were putting down roots in a new country. So you had to be independent and take, the reins yourself. Was that kind of a common theme growing up that just started to, snowball and get you to the point where, now like it's something that you've taken with you throughout your whole life?
100%.
Yeah.
There you found it.
There
you go.
I was trying to.
How many minutes is that into this? No, you're bang on. It was, and it still has been. Like, I've always been that type that's independent.
Yeah.
That I've always focused on. I need to make sure that I'm great at what I do.
Yeah.
Right. Like I said, kudos to my parents. You know, they came to this country, which is an amazing country. Yeah. It's, you know, for the right reasons, where they were busy doing their thing for us. Yeah. And I wanted to prove that I can be independent and make who I am today.
Right.
And people always say, you know, like, and I always, you know, think about it. What are we here for? You know, what you want to be known for something. So it's like, what do you want to be known for? Right. You know, and everyone has a purpose. Yeah. You know, all four of us have a purpose. But what is our purpose? Sometimes it takes a while for someone to find what their purpose is, you know, and, you know, we'll obviously get into it. But I believe I've found my purpose with Breaking the Silence and just who I am today. And it's literally come from my upbringing of, you know, me being independent and me being so strong that I won't let any obstacle get in my way.
Right.
I don't know if I can jump an obstacle, but
yeah.
I'll get around it.
Totally.
You mentioned you have 2 kids now, right? 2. So
Yes.
like, I guess how do you want to foster that independence thinking with your children going forward?
For me, you know, before I even had kids, I was like, you know what, my kids are gonna play soccer. They're gonna, you know, be these amazing athletes, and, you know, when they get older, they're gonna get these scholarships. They're gonna play, you know, at high levels. As soon as Zara was born and I heard that first cry, I was like, okay, everything is changing.
Yeah.
You know, like, we can all sit here and say, we're going to do this for our children. As soon as you guys don't have kids yet.
No.
Like, when your time comes, we'll have that conversation here.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll come back.
We'll come back to this because it changes. Like, what your perspective on how you're going to be a father or a mother, you know, is totally different than what you actually live day to day, you know? Now my kids, you know, like Zara, I was coaching her for a little bit for soccer, and I never once pushed her to, you know, do what she doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
Now she wants to start golfing, and we're going to have to talk about this after.
Nice.
We need a little bit of training here.
Nice.
So she wants to get into golfing. Even Zaina, who's my little one, she wants to. So now I'm, like, you know, on the verge of getting lessons. Yeah. So for me, it's something that I'm happy to give to them because they're asking me for that. Yeah. Right.
It's good. They want to do it.
100%. Right. And I always say, if you want to do it, go do it. Because I did it myself too. You know, no one thought I was ever going to be a wrestler. I wanted to get into wrestling. I went and did it. You know, and they started doing pickleball. We've all played pickleball here.
Yeah.
Amazing sport.
Yeah.
Right. One of the fastest growing in North America. They've been saying that for 4 years, and it is growing.
Yeah.
You know, but it's on them, right? Like, what they want to do is what I'm gonna sit here or stand there and support.
Yeah. Do you find, because, you know, you mentioned it, and it's a fine line, right? Where you said, looking back, you know, maybe if your parents were a little more involved in your sports, but it wasn't their fault, they had a reason, and then the positive is obviously that it created such independence in you and drive.
A beast.
Yeah, a beast. There, exactly, right? 100%. You know, so that balance in the middle between being, you know, kind of a full helicopter parent and not involved at all is a fine line to you know, to be able to find. You know, being a dad now, do you find sometimes it's very tempting to be more involved, and if so, how do you take a step back and prevent yourself from getting too involved? Because I know you care immensely about everything that you do, and I'm sure you care even more about your daughters. So just curious, like, if you ever find yourself feeling that way, what do you do to kind of, you know, take a step back and make sure you still give them enough space to be independent?
You know what? This was probably at the start when Zara started to play soccer a little bit. I was like, you know what? I want to get more involved. Now, I was never, ever, ever that parent on the sideline that spoke.
Right.
Right. Sure, you know, have the soccer coaching background, you know, whatever we want to call it. But my thing here is I was lucky enough to be involved in a positive way, not a negative way.
Right.
Right. Where nowadays it's a lot worse when it comes down to parents because I'm finding they're getting very much involved, but for the wrong ways and for the wrong reasons. Right. Now you're almost making that child be who you weren't.
Right.
Right. And I'm not a fan of that at all.
Yeah.
And I've never been. I'm a fan of, if your child wants to play, if your child needs extra support, if your child needs extra coaching, give it to them. Right. So for me, when it came down to it, I was involved, but in a good way, in a positive way, in a positive angle. Right. Like I said, in games, I never spoke. Practices, never spoke.
Right.
Afterwards, maybe we'll go do a session together and stuff. But the biggest thing is parents nowadays, they just need to take a step back, right? Like what you kind of mentioned there too, Sean, that I did, and I have.
Yeah.
And now, like I said, if the kids, if my daughters, in 5 years continue golfing, man, I personally think I've won. And the reason for that is, we're all golfers here. Some of us are pros and champions, but you will be as well. But the point being here is that if they can continue golfing and I can continue golfing with them, that is more impactful for me than them just, not wanting to do anything with me.
I think just learning the skill, applying yourself to something is the most important piece. Like the professionalization of like youth sports is almost getting a little
too much.
It's almost too much to a certain extent. Like some kids are just gifted and they're going to be good, but that's a small percentage. And then also the smaller percentage is the ones that go on to like scholarships and then professional sports. So it's like, let's make sure everyone's enjoying themselves, learning the skill, learning good habits like being on time, accountability, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think you hit it bang on, gifted. There's 3 individuals that I've either coached against or coached with. And, one being obviously Alfonso Davies, coached against him for years. And I knew this kid was one day going to be where he is today, And then the 2 kids that I coached, James Hamlin and Arjun Atwal, 2 phenomenal hockey players.
Yeah.
Right? But those are athletes that were gifted.
Yeah.
And that gift you can't take away.
Yeah.
But the work ethic that they had with their gift was even more phenomenal. Right? Because we'll have, we've seen people out there that are gifted, but they won't push themselves to another level. You got the gift, but now, you got to put the work in too to continue to build that, what you have with your gift.
Right. Keep the momentum going.
100%.
Yeah.
I see it every now and I think sometimes like the competition's so easy early that they don't have to work for it. And then once all of a sudden you meet some people that like push you, they're just kind of shy away from it a little bit. They might need that extra push from a coach like you had with Mr. Lowry and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that goes a long ways, right? It's how are we pushing the kid?
Yeah, more in a supportive, positive way than like the bad car ride home, kind of stories. Yeah.
100%. And there's a lot of those with people, right?
Just going back to that, taking a step back, like, are there any kind of specific, just because again, we've all seen it. We've all, seen it in numerous ways. Right? Any specific strategies for a parent that just feels like they're having a tough time taking that step back? Like, is it, just positioning yourself in a different spot in the soccer field, or maybe just not even going to every game? Like, are there certain specific things that you do to help kind of maintain that balance? And just, obviously you've got a lot of awareness. You've been thinking about this for a long time, but, for a parent that maybe is just getting into it for the first time and doesn't have a sporting background before, any suggestions for how they can kind of get off to a better start?
I think the biggest thing is be a parent.
Yeah.
Be a parent and be a fan. That's what a lot of parents don't realize, that they're not a fan and they're not a parent.
Right.
When you start putting yourself in the coach's feet of, I'm the coach now of my child, you've already lost, right? And the reason why I say that is there's a reason why that coach is coaching your child, because they are the coach. They are directing them to play the sport the correct way. Now, when it comes down to the parent, and you're right, sometimes I think you might have to position yourself in the game to sit somewhere where you don't have to be as vocal, right? Now, I'm all about cheering and I'm all about, having fun at the game. But when a parent is screaming, shoot, and the ball is in the defensive zone, like, how does that logically make any sense? It just doesn't, right? And if you hear your coach never say shoot, why are we saying shoot? Right? Now, there's ways of, like I said, being that parent and being the fan, but don't coach from the sidelines.
Right.
You know, and I used to tell this to the parents too, right at the parents meeting. We are here to make your child improve their game.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we are the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You guys coaching from the sidelines is not going to help them, because then there's these voices that they don't know which one to pick up. Right? The coach should be the voice.
Right.
And the parent that is cheering from the sideline, that should be the voice of, yes, my dad is here, my mom is here, and they're cheering for me.
Right.
Not shoot the ball
Right.
and you're in your defensive zone. You know, it just logically doesn't make sense. And now you're confusing that child too.
Right. Yeah.
It confuses the other children too. Like, it's not just your own. Like, they hear all the voices out there. Like, or sometimes someone's yelling at some other kid to do something.
Yeah.
Now they're not a parent. They're not nurturing anymore. They're too
involved.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Too involved, and it's not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not a healthy relationship with the other parents, with your child, with your coaches. You know, and there's a lot of those parents out there that just other parents don't want to be around.
Right.
It's just like, man, Susie's here or Elizabeth's here. I just don't want to be around that parent.
Right.
You know, you want to be that parent that everyone's like, hey, I want to be around this positive parent. They're always there cheering in a good manner and just good energy.
Yeah. Totally. Well, and the other part, it doesn't always happen this way, but, you know, as you've mentioned right at the start, like, getting on teams is different than it used to be.
It is.
The family makeup can also play into whether your son or daughter makes the team. You know, if it's between Joey and Jeff and the skill's pretty equal, but we know that family of, you know, Joey's family is going to bring a better attitude and culture to the team, all of a sudden that player's making the team. So I think that's something too that sometimes parents don't consider, is that their the environment that they are bringing to the team can play into, you know, the upward mobility of their son or daughter. Sometimes it's not necessarily a factor that should always be evaluated, but it certainly is part of the equation sometimes.
I'm gonna say not sometimes, a lot of times.
Yeah. Okay.
And the reason for that is, as a coach, you're not now only taking on that child on your team.
Yeah.
You're taking on that family.
Yeah.
And I will tell you right now, as a coach, I have made decisions that I'm not taking that child because of the parent. Right?
Yeah.
Was the child good? Absolutely. But unfortunately, that child is now getting cut from the team due to the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's where parents don't realize that they're doing more damage than they're doing good for their child.
Right.
Have you ever had an altercation? Well, I don't say altercation, but have you ever had to speak with, you know, a parent in terms of behavior on the sidelines, on the pitch, or even just have you had a? I was going to do a second part to that, but just that first one.
So
to tell someone to
when I
pipe down.
So when I coached the '99 Juventus boys for years, you know, they're a great team. Not only were they a phenomenal team, you know, they've won a lot. The parents were phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I don't recall having a single conversation that was negative with a parent at all. I actually still remember it was provincial year. We were in Red Deer. One of the parents did come up to me because, you know, that game or a few games I couldn't play the child as much. And I literally told, you know, the mom at that time, I was like, you know what? We're going to the finals right now. We can definitely have this conversation after the finals is done. We went out, we won the finals, we won provincials. That child at that point was super, you know, excited. He just won with his family or with his team. The parent didn't have a conversation with me. A season after, that same child that was not a starter became the starter of the team.
Nice.
And I'll tell you why. Because he put the work in. Mm-hmm. He put the effort in. He didn't allow his mom to run his life, that he wanted to show his commitment that he can actually be the starter. Right. And he turned out to be a phenomenal player.
Right.
Now, when it comes down to, you know, my daughter's team, I will tell you, coaching boys and coaching girls is a whole different league.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot more chatter when it comes down to, you know, and let's be honest, you know, girls are girls. But the parents as well, they were a lot more vicious, if you want to call it.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So we as coaches did have discussions with some parents. And like I said, one parent, you know, due to their behavior, we didn't take on their child the following season.
Yeah.
Where it was too much.
Yeah.
I was at the point I didn't even want to go to soccer.
Wow.
It was that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and this is like, guys, like we're coaching your child. We're trying to make, you know, the team better, but the negativity this parent brought, it honestly weighed down on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can.
It can.
Yeah.
As a coach, you know, or it doesn't, it's like going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to work. If you're going to work in a good environment, you want to go to work.
Yeah.
But if it's a bad environment, get out of it.
Yeah. For
You
sure.
know, you don't deserve to be there mentally.
Yeah. Well, and if it's weighing on you that hard, you can only imagine what it's doing to the kids and the
Yeah.
players.
It affects
right?
down the chain. Now
Yeah.
you're affecting not just you, it's the other, whatever, 15 to, I don't know how many kids on a
20,
team,
yeah.
20 kids on a
Yeah.
team. Like
Yeah.
it just brings everyone down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't have one bad apple kind of
Yeah.
ruin the whole recipe.
Yeah. Oh, and that was a bad apple. It was a rotted apple
Yeah.
that you just didn't want to eat.
Yeah.
Did you ever have my second part to the question? I finally remembered it. When making those selections for bringing on a kid or not, and maybe the parents becoming a deciding factor, ever any sort of immediate conversations of, hey, why is my kid not on your team, that sort of thing?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because the conversations were had with the parent that the behavior needs to change, right? Otherwise, you know, we most likely will be going our separate ways. So it's funny that they still brought the child to the tryouts, but obviously we didn't take the child on. But it's like I said, it's if you make those conversations known right off the bat, then things, you know, may go the way you want them to go.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of had a feeling too that, okay, maybe we should try out for other teams too, just in case. But after that, no, there was no conversation, nothing that went on. But it's sad in a big way that it's like, this is like amateur sports for kids.
Yeah.
Like, people and parents don't realize kids sports is done like that. You know, we've all played it.
Yeah.
It is so quick that if we don't enjoy it, and especially now when they get to the ages of 14 and 15, guess what? They're in their teens.
Yeah.
They're more independent. They don't want much to do with you either.
Yeah.
You know, so it's too sad to see.
Yeah. You got to try to enjoy it while you have it, right?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Well, I was going to ask you, you've touched on a few of them, but kind of specific strategies. It sounds like for you, getting those messages out to the parent group and probably to the players early is really important. Just being transparent and disclosing things, right? So you can always go to someone and say, hey, this is what you signed up for. There's no surprises, right? Further to that, you had mentioned a parent meeting. So just want to dive into that a little bit more. And then I know, like on the hockey side, you know, there's been coaches that have even tried to get parents to sign contracts.
Yeah.
You know, a contract only goes so far, but you know, it's a written, you know, thing where it lays out, you know, the behavior, not only for the parents, but code of conduct for the athletes as well. You know, pros and cons to that. I think some people get a little weirded out by an actual contract, but you know, it's now in paper. It's something people can take home with them and review on top of a parent meeting. So just curious kind of where your, you know, sweet spot with those type of strategies has landed.
Yeah, I mean, my obviously sweet spot would be definitely, like I said, right off the hop, we would have it all written down.
Yeah.
And I think the last few seasons, it was literally they're signing off on it too.
Yeah.
That if we need to go back and be like, hey guys, you signed off on these are the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
But it was letting the parents know, and exactly what I'd mentioned just not too long ago, that youth sports in a blink of an eye and a snap of a finger is gone.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are going to look back and say, why didn't I enjoy it as much as I should have?
Yeah.
Right? That's the key thing. And that's, you know, most people, like, it'll hit them. I actually remember a parent that called me that night, you know, almost in tears going, what you said was so right. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't believe, like, my child literally has a few more years left of sports for youth and it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, and it felt good knowing that, hey, at least this parent took something away from this meeting.
Right.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, your words resonated.
100%, right? And that's the biggest thing is like, now is every parent going to get it? Not at all.
Yeah.
You know, I almost think, and you know, Sean, when you were speaking, that parents almost need coaching
Yeah.
on how to be a parent,
Yeah.
not a coach from the sidelines.
Yeah.
I think if they, there's a lot of new parents that haven't played sports,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot, I don't know how it is in the hockey world. I'm sure it's the same as the soccer world, but if we can start training those parents on how to be parents at games, could be a different sport.
Right. Well, I mean, you hear that a lot. Like, you know, we do all this training for our jobs and through school and for our sports. But, you know, when someone becomes a parent, not even a parent of an athlete, no one goes to school for that.
No.
Right? Like it's,
No.
and you know better than
it's
any of
self-taught.
us, like how difficult that is. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
overnight, you're a parent, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a really good point, and it's obviously a really big challenge for a lot of people. And then you layer in, you know, athletics on top of that. Like that's very difficult.
Like there's no manual that came with your kid, I take
No.
it.
No, there's no manual at all. I mean, if you're looking for it, you're not going to find it.
No.
Right.
But I think I might be onto something for you. That if we can come up with a concept on, in this sport, there's this coaching or coach that is going to train you on how to be a parent
Right.
before the season even starts,
Yeah.
might get somewhere.
Instead of breaking the silence, just be silent.
Be,
That's the new one right there.
I like it. Be silent in sports and watch.
That's good. There you
That's
go.
a good. I think we're onto something here, boys.
Whole second subsidiary business.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Lawsuits coming. No.
Well, there are going back to hockey, I think there are some organizations, if not all of them, like the parents do sign like a fan behavior agreement, where just, you know, it's just all the classic points, you know, don't yell at the refs and be respectful, you know, language and stuff. But there probably should be something more, not so much like, you know, going into, you know, people have to go into sensitivity training for something that they did. It should almost just be, hey, first parent meeting, there's going to be, you know, someone here talking about how exactly you should behave, rather than just signing a document and that being it.
You know what? And that's where my mind's going to too. I think that would be something that would be big, right? But you know, you do it at the beginning of the season, maybe, you know, a few weeks after, you know, that they're constantly reminded by this individual that this is how you got to be a parent.
Right.
Because let's be honest, when you read these things, a lot of people just ain't reading them.
Right.
You're just signing it and it's gone.
You know, like I'm in the car world that, you know, we have all these legal documents. No one's reading these documents.
Right.
You know, and then you know, you got clients coming back saying, well, this is like, well, it's in the legal documents. You signed off on it.
Right.
You know, same thing when it comes down to, you know, we're writing these for these parents. Are they really reading them?
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it sounds like, to your point of, you know, having people realize that it's such a small window of opportunity that their children are in these years.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to get them to zoom out and to just have a different perspective instead of, and we've all been there for different reasons, but having the blinders on and being just so caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
And obviously being in the moment in certain situations is great. Like if you're playing, typically that's a good thing. But, you know, for a parent and often as coaches, you need to be able to zoom out and take the blinders off and look at the bigger picture.
100%.
But I think that is something that, you know, obviously you're a well-spoken guy. I can imagine in a parent meeting, you can help people develop some of that perspective, but that's something that's going to be difficult to come out on a piece of paper.
It is. And we got to, you know, the parents as well. Like parents, they're not in their youth no more. They're parents. They're adults.
Right.
You know, some are in their 30s, some are in their 40s, some 50s, whatever age it is. So, you know, your first initial meeting with them, you got to, you know, sure, yeah, you can be well-spoken or whatever, but it may take time for them to really register into, you know, their thinking of, okay, I really need to change my ways.
Right.
If we can't change a kid's way when they're kids easily, how are we going to change an adult's way?
Yeah, of course.
Right. Yeah. And they may have come from another team or organization where they got away with it.
Or country or culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So, like I said, one meeting for me, like I said, isn't really going to impact a lot of parents,
Yeah.
it's like you got to keep reminding them.
Right.
You know, you got to keep reminding them how it is. And like I said, I was lucky for my boys that I was coaching the team that there was not a single bad apple.
Right.
You know, and everyone was phenomenal.
Well, let's dive into that. How did you get into coaching? So we talked about obviously you know, playing soccer in your younger years and your wrestling career, but when did, you know, that kind of evolve into, you know, being interested in being a coach?
Great question. Now, this was in my 20s. I believe I was 23 or 24.
Okay.
My auntie, my dad's sister, calls me up and she goes, your cousin Cedith, he like it's Millwood Selects, I think it's like U8 or whatever, so they need a coach. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. She's like, okay, so I'll register you. I was like, okay, perfect. So, you know, obviously in your 20s, you're just like, you know, you love soccer and you're like, let's give it a try. So I started coaching, and then came the period of, okay, now do I take them to another level of, you know, playing in club, where clubs at that point was still a little bit more difficult to get into compared to now. So then I took them to Juventus, and, you know, that's where more and more I started to enjoy coaching more and more. And, you know, the parents were awesome. So I essentially went to U16, I believe, with them. And, you know, I just basically loved to see I guess not only the level of their achievements, but just being in that atmosphere, knowing that I'm doing and making a difference with these kids it was phenomenal. And to this day, like I want to say out of the team, there's probably about 8 or 9 that still keep in touch.
Wow.
You know, some of them actually come out to the golf tournament as well too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and it's a big thing for me that it's like, man, like I was a mentor for them, you know, and finding good mentors, like, you know, Al Lowry was one of mine. It can be tough.
Yeah.
You know, it can be tough. And I take pride into knowing that these kids are good kids. And that's actually one thing that I would always tell my boys' parents, the team, was I'm not here to make your child into, you know, this dream that you're living of he's going to be a professional, whatever. My goal is, you know, if they play at a university level, which some of them did, but the biggest is having them being good men in society. That is where my win is.
Right.
And I believe my win has been my win because of that.
Yeah, soccer's just the vehicle.
It is.
Yeah.
Right? Now, how are you maintaining that vehicle? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I remember in my 20s, I had this Audi A6.
Yeah.
Bought it. And it was actually, and I'm so bad. Like, sure, I sell cars, but I'm not one of those car guys that I know cars. I don't. I still remember my best friend, Paul Dollywell. He's like, man, I don't know how you do it. You're phenomenal at selling, but your product knowledge just absolutely sucks. Anyone hearing that out there, don't worry. I have professionals for that. You're okay.
You got a team.
You got a team. But I had this Audi, and I didn't do any oil changes on it, which was the dumbest thing. And there went the Audi.
Yeah.
You know, and I took it to my buddy Jason, who's got a body shop or a mechanic shop, and he's like, "Man, I'll give you $1,000."
Yeah.
That's it. You know, but it's maintaining that vehicle,
Right.
And it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's nice that you're able to keep with that same team for a long period of time.
Yeah,
that's I think it's kind of unique with soccer. I mean, in individual sports, obviously, because your coach isn't part of the team or whatever. But with soccer, it seems like those kids at that one birth year, they stay together as long as they can, basically, until, you know, they break off somewhere else. But
yeah, and I like that actually with soccer as well. I know I have a buddy, Vic Koschel. He's running a few programs. He actually has the opposite thinking. His thinking is that the child should have the coach for, you know, U12. That's his coach, and then you go to a different coach, you know, and that's it. For me, I personally believe that coach should be developing that child for all those years. And especially if he's a good mentor, right? Because those kids are going to be, like a lot of them now, like I said, they still keep in contact. They're like brothers. They're like best friends.
Yeah.
You know, the bond that they've created is inseparable.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it is in hockey, but in soccer, definitely it is like that. And I do believe that's a good way of doing it.
Right.
But, you know, every way's sometimes not the right way.
Yeah, I think there's kind of pros and cons to both because, you know, the way that you coach versus me,
Yeah.
there's going to be some common ground, but there's going to be some different perspectives.
Yeah.
And I know that's something we talk about at Vimy all the time because in the past, they've had one coach with a group for the whole 10 months of the year.
Yeah.
And the benefit has been that you get to know those kids at a much deeper level. It takes time to build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And that is certainly the benefit of extending the period of time that you get to spend with the kids. If you put that into year 2, year 3, I can only imagine like the bonds that you had with those kids after so many years. Like you just can't do that in one season. But at the same time, you know, we are a skills academy. And currently this year we've decided to rotate because there's certain things that I like to do different than some of the other coaches. And they just get to get a bigger, you know, broader look throughout the course of 10 months.
Yeah.
You're also not a team either.
No,
Right.
exactly.
So
yeah.
you're not in
Right.
a team environment. Like, yeah, they are a team in the learning
Right.
environment, but they're not playing games
For sure.
together.
I just think it is a tricky question because I can see the benefits of what you're
Of
able to
both.
do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, having kids have to, you know, learn how to deal with a different coach who's going to see things differently. There's some benefit there too.
There is, and that's where, like in soccer, there's technical coaches.
Right.
So every club will have their technical director. So that technical director will usually once a week have a session with them. So they do hear a different voice.
Right.
But the biggest thing, you know, like you kind of touched on too, Sean, is the bond.
Yeah.
The bond you cannot create in 10 months. You know, the bond is going to be years,
Yeah.
years together.
Yeah. For
they
sure.
trust you, but you're also almost like a second parent. Like they're with you, especially during soccer season, they're with you as much as their parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how many years did you have that group consecutively for?
That group would have been, 6 years?
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, is there any, I mean, throughout that, there's probably a little bit of turnover. You got some kids
Oh,
that
yeah.
maybe go to different sports or whatnot, but is it all one age group or did you have like an older birth year and a younger birth year and then an older birth year and a younger birth year, or is it all just the same birth year?
So they were 99. So 1999 was
Yeah.
their year birth.
Yeah.
But I had, I believe it was either one for sure, might have had two that were 2000s.
Okay.
Right? Because they were good enough to play up.
Sure. Yeah.
But for the most part, it was a consistent team for all those years.
Nice.
But then you'd always have a few that were kind of coming in and out.
Right.
The two hockey boys, Arjun and James, as much as I wanted them full,
Yeah.
because they were phenomenal soccer players too.
Yeah.
You guys all know hockey
Yeah.
always wins over soccer,
Yeah.
right? So like they would come as much as they could, but summer they would always have their, you know, speed or whatever
Yeah.
training on the side as well too. So, but winter was definitely a lot more difficult because that's when hockey is.
Right.
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 But I find these athletes, if you can find athletes from the hockey world to soccer, woo,
Yeah.
you got a deadly team. But it's just a commitment, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Did you ever have to part ways or cut an individual that had been with you for a bit, and then it got to a point where, you know, this guy just doesn't have it anymore, and we can't take him this year?
Yeah, there was actually a few that conversation was definitely hard. Like I said, the parents were amazing.
Yeah.
The child, because we got to now build a team that is, you know, eventually going to become champions, right? But when it comes down to the skill level, you're always evaluating, you know, especially when it comes down to games and practices as well too. But then there's kids that their level just, it's there. It's not moving any higher, you know, so that's where it's more difficult to make that decision as a coach, that it's like, hey, well, now this, you know, James or Mike or whoever it is just came to try out. Their level's higher than yours. Unfortunately, now we're going to have to take him over you. Right? So, I mean, yeah, those conversations definitely are difficult, especially at a young age. You know, someone getting cut, psychologically, that can really take a toll on them too.
Yeah.
But, you know, knock on wood, none of those kids, you know, turned out to be bad, or, you know, no one had any hate towards me, because at the end of the day, I'm only, you know, trying to make sure I can take the best of the best at that time.
It's business.
It's business. It's not personal.
Not personal. Yeah, exactly. No. So what's the approach then when you do have to have that conversation with a younger individual? Is it the old Moneyball scene where it's you just say it and take it off like a Band-Aid? How's your approach when you have to tell a kid he's not on your team?
My approach is you got to have the parent and the child there, right? And the reason for that is the parent first, it's obviously having the conversation with the parents. It's like, hey, we're going to be parting ways. These are the reasons why. So you got to break it down why they're not going to be there. Because every parent wants to know. If my child's getting cut, well, why are they getting cut, right? Especially if they've been there for a while too. So first I'm having the conversation with the parent saying, hey, this is the reason why. And unfortunately, there's someone else that's going to be taking their spot. But I want to have the conversation with you and your child. So that way we're all on the same page, right? The last thing you want to do is you have a conversation with the child and the child totally twists it. Right. And the parent's like mad at you. And it's like, man, I didn't even say that. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So you want everything to be, and I'm a very, very transparent individual. When it comes down to transparency is everything, right? You want to be transparent because you don't want it that it comes back to you to bite you in the butt, right? So it's having the conversation, letting the child know too that, hey, the door is never closed. That if down the road we do meet again and you do come to tryouts and you do make it, well, the spot will be yours, right? So it's transparency and, like I said, having conversations with both the parent and the child into why they're not making it. That's the biggest thing.
I think with safe sport guidelines now too, you definitely want to have parents involved in those conversations.
Oh yeah. Like back then it wasn't as bad compared to now. Like it's bad.
Well, what age, what was the oldest age of a player you had to let go? With the parents being involved.
The oldest, it's probably 13.
Okay.
Yeah. Like when you get into the teens, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
I mean, still bad.
Yeah.
But it's probably the age of 13 was probably the oldest that we had the conversation with both.
Yeah. Yeah, those are never easy conversations, but again, you can make them easier by setting it up the right way, right? So these teams, would they run winter and summer?
Yeah.
So would you carry the same team over, or would you have some fluidness between, like you said, you had some guys that were playing hockey, so maybe some guys that were on the summer team but couldn't be on the winter team, or did you try to keep the same core year round?
It was same core year round.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for soccer, your actual year is outdoor, right? Indoor is more of like making sure, you're still keeping fit, getting everything in. Now it's actually good. When I was coaching, we still had it was 7v7, so you didn't have boarded. Like, I'm not a fan of boarded soccer. Sure, boarded soccer is fun. It's more entertaining to watch, but that's not soccer, right? Especially if you have the board to assist you as another player. You pass it off the board, you get another
to yourself. Yeah,
exactly, right. Where you have to almost keep the same team consistently in order to keep growing them.
Yeah,
to take them to a championship level.
Right. Yeah.
But there's less players playing in winter, so you could make up for some guys not being there. I'm sure it made it easier.
Yeah, because in winter, obviously, like I was saying, 7v7, where in summer it's 11v11.
Right.
But for the most part, it was like consistently running with 16 to 18 players each season.
Yeah.
But it was definitely keeping them together.
Did you find having to evolve the training regiment for them as they got older? Because obviously what an 8-year-old is going to do compared to a 14-year-old is going to be pretty different, especially when you're talking about probably some of the away from the pitch, lifting weights, that kind of stuff. Did you find that challenging and also kind of fun to be able to not have the exact same program each year? You had to grow with your players?
Absolutely. Like when you're coaching from, I'd say, U8 to U12 is completely different. It's all developmental. Then, your U14, you start to get more to strategy. What a lot of coaches don't realize, those years of the developmental are so crucial. And some coaches, and I was not one of them, luckily, you focus on, strategy, but not as much. Because let's put it this way. If you are teaching your child or this team at the age of 9 or 10 strategy, but no development. Well, they don't know how to shoot a ball. They don't know how to dribble. They don't. But yeah, they're great at strategy.
Right.
It's a loss.
Yeah.
Right. But it was definitely a lot of fun every year that the older they're getting, different things are kind of involving, into strategy wise, into development wise, like there's an 8-year-old isn't going to be doing long lobs in the air. Well, a 12-year-old is.
Right.
So now you're bringing that into as a different type of practice in the elements.
Right.
So it's fun because, like I said, you sit down at the end of the season and go, okay, what am I going to plan for my following season? And these kids are getting older. How are we going to, make our practices different?
Going year round, how much time did you kind of have to reset? Like probably not a ton, eh?
Probably like an hour.
It basically starts and ends like right after each other.
Oh yeah. Like if you're a team that's like high up there, as soon as provincials are done, your tryouts start basically next week. Right. So there's no downtime at all.
Yeah.
That's why, like, for me, like, obviously it was tough being in the car business and as a coach. Now being a sales manager, it's even more difficult. So you can't do both.
Right.
Because now the sales manager is like a coach at work now.
Right.
And you're there 6 days a week, all these hours.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to the coaching aspect of it, the downtime was, like I said, an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like it's time to go again.
Yeah.
I
was going to ask, I had that noted, like as the kids got older, did you find that the time commitment increased?
Time commitment for me was always the same.
About the same.
Yeah. Like it was always, maybe the practices went from an hour and a half to an hour to like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So the practice times got longer.
Right.
But the commitment was still like 5 to 6 times a week.
Yeah.
But you guys are obviously on the same page of like, coaching as well too. We only get them for what, an hour and a half, let's just say?
Yeah.
A day.
Yeah.
Like we think that's a lot, but it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
Now it comes on them. Like you were showing me earlier in the basement that's amazing that you guys can actually have that facility here to do those things. Where parents, that's where it comes down to the parents.
Right.
Coaching, we'll be there for an hour and a half. But after that, what is your child doing?
Right.
Now, if you're coming to me saying your child needs more playing time, but they're not working on their game or their passes or their shooting on their own, is it my fault or is it the child's fault?
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right?
what are you doing away from the pitch or the rink is always, that question that came up, or what are you doing when no one's watching?
100%.
That's always a big thing that
Yeah.
it's lost when people say, well, my kid needs more playing time. Well, your kid needs to practice.
100%. Well, how often is he practicing? Well, not that much. Just with your practices. Well, there you go.
Right.
It has to become like more of a lifestyle.
It
in the same
does.
way. Like I know with basically any sport, it has to be almost every day a week. You're doing something.
Yeah.
Or at least thinking about it or what. I mean, there's always, you need off seasons or whatever too, but yeah, it has to become like your life almost.
Yeah. Like
to be good at anything really.
100%. Like I'm just thinking back to my youth when I was playing soccer. So I was lucky that my parents' house, their backyard connects to the field. So I was out there every single day after school. And I still remember his name was Adnan and Eddie. We would be going into wars, and Matt, into wars of playing one-on-one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you don't see that no more.
Yeah.
Right?
You see less, yeah.
Way less,
Yeah.
and even like there's baseball diamonds behind. So I'd be like, basically I'd be shooting behind because the cage would be protecting it. Right.
Yeah.
So I'd be shooting on that, getting more power.
Yeah.
But it's the time and effort that I would be doing away from practices is what made me better too.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, and like you said, playing with your buddies, making it fun.
Yeah.
So for Matt and I, like he was saying, we'd ride our bikes to the golf course,
Yeah.
but we would be playing games against each other all
Yeah.
the time. It wasn't always just, we went to the range, but most of it was chipping contests, putting contests.
Yeah.
If we're at the range, we're trying to hit it into the nets,
Yeah.
who can get the 3 first or whatever. Putting a couple quarters on it. Other guys got to buy the guy a hot dog, whatever. You're gamifying it. So
Yeah.
you're still trying to make that extra work as fun as you can.
Yeah.
So, the other side of that coin, and hopefully we can kind of get into this now, is just how did you, especially growing up yourself, but then also maybe contrasting that with the kids you were coaching through these years. You mentioned how it's almost pretty much a full season. There's like an hour of downtime. How did you prevent some of those kids from burning out? Like, we talk about, saying, hey, like if you're going to put in the extra reps, which we need you to do outside of practice, have some fun, try to gamify it. Were there any other things, like just encouraging them to still make sure they had some hobbies, or just create a little bit of distance from the game so it wasn't, you need to put the time in, but there's that fine line between where it takes over your life and now you kind of turn against it, right? So what were maybe some of the strategies to prevent it from going over that tipping point?
You know what? I was lucky that the kids that I had, they were like my mentality.
Yeah.
They were like, man, we want to be great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't push them because I would know when I need to push them, I would push them.
Yeah.
When I needed to take a step back, I would take a step back.
Yeah.
And that was for the sheer reason of not burning them out.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want them burnt out whatsoever. Right. And as a coach, because you are their mentor, you need to know how they're performing in practice.
Right.
And if their practices, you can see that they're kind of lacking.
Sure.
Well, now you know that they're probably burning out.
Right.
So that's where now you have to, as a coach, start doing practices where you're having more fun than you're actually doing, running or whatever else too.
Right.
Because that burnout period, that's a tough time, right? But for the kids that I was coaching too, there's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Right. Especially in boys, tons of energy.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was lucky enough to have such a good group that I didn't see it, nor did anyone tell me that they were getting burnt out for me to really take a step back to show them. But like I said, my practice sessions were never, ever consistently for a week of just hard training.
Right.
It was, if I had a hard session on Monday, well, we're going to soften it on Tuesday.
Right.
If I have it a hard session on Wednesday, we soften it on Thursday. Right. So it was kind of like this, where it kept them engaged and it really prevented them from really burning out.
Right.
Because I believe the burnouts are going to come when it's consistently hard.
Yes.
Hard.
Right.
Right. Like for us, we're obviously athletes. If we're, if I'm training for this marathon now, and I'm running 20 kilometers every single day before the marathon, I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll be honest.
Way up.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I probably don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So the first maybe week is amazing.
Yeah.
But then after that, your legs are giving up and all that.
Yeah.
That it's tough.
For sure.
Right. So my biggest thing, like I said, as a coach for me, when I was doing those sessions, was making sure that I'm doing these sessions that they're never the same sessions. And they're not getting burnt out because they're working so hard at it.
What coaching resources did you have to, I guess, learn about coaching that game and to continue your education, especially as your kids were getting old? You had to adapt. So, did you have any resources you went to? Like, did Soccer Canada have something? YouTube? I don't know, something.
I'm creative. I'm a very, very creative guy. Where even like my sessions, I still remember. Farah, was one of my assistant coaches for the girls. She goes, your sessions sometimes, like, I'm like surprised, like they're so good. And I'm like, Farah, can I tell you something? She's like, what's up? I just thought of it on the spot. Like, it's just, it's like a writer. Okay. A writer, I can never be a writer. I'm not that creative. But when that writer writes that book, you're just like, wow, man, how did he do it? Right. Or like a singer, like whatever it is, everyone's got their talent. But I did do some, obviously it was NCCP, it was a coaching course and stuff too. But a lot of it, like especially for me, having been around the game for so long and knowing the game, that it just came to me so naturally.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a natural thing to me that right now, if you guys were like, hey Raj, let's go do a session, I'll be like, okay, let's go do it. Like, it's like I almost know what needs to be done and how it needs to be done.
Right.
And then when it's getting done, I'm like, man, no, I need to tweak it like this. And then it just creates new things out of that as well.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting because, everyone has their own style. We actually just talked about this as a staff at Vimy on the hockey side. And one of our coaches really likes to just sort of look on the internet.
Yeah.
He obviously thinks about what drills are best. He puts his own filter on it.
Yeah.
But he really likes to kind of, be a sponge of what else is out there. For me, I'm more like you. Like, I like to go and create.
Yeah.
Now, I still look the odd time, but I don't start there.
Yeah.
I only go there if I feel like I can't come up with something myself, or I've got a rough idea, I need a little bit of help with it. But I just like to kind of solve the problem in my own head.
Yeah.
That's what drives me, gets me going. I feel most productive doing that. That's just my recipe.
Yeah.
Right. So it's interesting to see how, some coaches would go to the drill bank and print something off that had been done by a guy in, the States, and that's what they're using. But for you, it sounds like it was more like, no, you wanted to kind of put your own creative stamp on
100%.
it, right? Yeah.
Let's put it this way. I was never book smart. I mean, I wasn't the smartest kid, but when it came down to be creative and those kind of things, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a guy that's going to sit there, start reading up on things, on how to do it. It's like, no, like same thing. Like you had mentioned, Sean, that maybe I'll see a clip here and then I'll be like, yeah, wait a minute. I can do it like this.
Right.
And then boom, like
Yeah.
the wheel starts turning
Yeah.
in the head, right? Of creativity.
Start kind of building your own version of it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think, again, that comes back to, the uniqueness of spending so many years with that team is you've developed such a understanding of them
Yeah.
that, making those tweaks in the moment because you know them so well
Yeah.
is going to be a lot easier than if it's some group that you just started with.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. Because their weaknesses, their strengths,
Right.
and where they need to focus more on. So those are the things, like you said, then you start thinking about, okay, how can I focus on this? How can I bring this into the training session? Okay, this is how I can do it.
Right.
Your creative, your mind starts to put things together.
Right. I don't want to jump off soccer too quickly here, but, wrestling, was wrestling something that you ever coached? Or obviously sounds like soccer was taking up most of your time, but
Yeah.
did you ever have any interest in potentially trying to get back into wrestling in that way?
I actually did. I did last year. Was it last? Yeah, I believe it was last year. One of my old teachers, who's actually one of the directors right now with BTS as well. I call him Nelly, but it's Nelson, and he's still coaching, or sorry, teaching at TD Baker. And I was like, hey, I want to get back maybe into coaching wrestling. He's like, man, that's an awesome idea. And then he's like, but there's no mats here. And I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
You can't do it on a gym
mats.
floor.
Yeah. No, that would hurt.
100%. But I actually did think about it. I thought about it, but I obviously didn't pursue it to continue to, or I shouldn't say continue, to try it,
Right.
to start it. I think it would have been fun. It would have been different, right?
Yeah.
Than soccer, because those are two different sports.
Yeah.
Like completely different.
Yeah.
One, like I said, you're running after a ball. Here, you're running after an individual,
Right.
to tackle them.
Right. And you talked about this at the start, the school wrestling, is it individual usually, not team-based?
Yes. So it's individual when you're wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going
There's
in.
no tag team.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But it's like gymnastics team.
Yes.
Like you're or even golf in college.
Yeah.
You're competing, but then you have a team score.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
like for us, I believe it was grade 8 and grade 9. TD Baker had won the cities as a school too, because
Okay.
we had the most victories.
Gotcha.
So that aspect. So you had to win in order for you to get more points as a school.
Right.
So, but yeah, like we mentioned, it ain't no tag. It's like, hey, you're it. Like,
Yeah.
come on in, right?
It's on you.
It's on you. No, it's literally, like I said, it's you against the guy,
Yeah.
right? To wrestle.
How did you find sort of the contrast between, did you find it healthy to have one sport that was more individual and then soccer obviously being team-based?
Yeah.
Because I know for us growing up, golf, individual, and then to have that contrasted with the team sport of hockey was pretty cool, because there's a lot of differences between an individual sport versus a team sport.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely different, and it's definitely, it wasn't challenging whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because like I said, for me, it was focusing on, okay, when I'm with my team, you're being a team player. Like there's a few seasons I was a team captain, that, you got to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you went to the wrestling aspect of it, it's like, hey, you are your leader, right?
Yeah.
You have to perform. If you don't perform, well, you don't have a team that can help you, right? Like in hockey or soccer, you have 11 players on the pitch.
Yeah.
If one player just isn't having the greatest game, well, you got 10 other players that can step up.
Right.
But in wrestling, if you're having an off day, well, chances are you've lost a match.
Right.
And now, there's a loss under your belt.
For sure. Would you recommend like young athletes, if they're playing multiple sports, to try, if, again, they need to be passionate about what they're doing, but, let's say hypothetically they play hockey and then they're interested in tennis and soccer.
Yeah.
Again, it really depends on a lot of different factors, but I know when I've been in those situations, if a student can try to have a team sport and an individual sport, I find that to be pretty healthy. And it doesn't mean they need to play tennis for their whole U Sports career, but to try to have at least some exposure to an individual sport, I think is pretty healthy, because like you said, in wrestling, you're going to learn how to deal with more pressure when you don't have the rest of your team. Like it's on you, and you got to find a way to make it happen, right?
Yeah. Yes, I do believe good leaders will come out of individual sports.
Yeah.
And take that leadership into team sports, right? Because now you're focusing just on you, right? You're focusing on yourself mentally and physically being good, or in my words, great.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you can now take that, what you've learned in an individual sport, into a team aspect of it, I think, like I said, you're now becoming more of a leader than anything, because you know how it is individually to be where you're at.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So with the soccer coaching, did it just life circumstances kind of change and just got to the point where you couldn't put the time into it?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was book smart, maybe if I went to university and became something else, and it was a Monday to Friday job, 8:30 to 5 or whatever, I'd still be coaching, right? Yeah. But being in the car industry, it's tough. Yeah. It is so tough. It's just, you're putting in a lot of hours. You just came off of a great month. Well, guess what? An hour later, a new month starts.
Yeah.
So now you got to keep pushing there.
Right.
So that's where it's so difficult to do both.
Yeah.
Kudos to those coaches that can do them. But for me, like I said, it was just, I'm not one to do half.
Yeah.
Me, it's all in or don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it was like either I'm doing this or I'm not doing this, because at the end of the day, my name's on the line.
Right.
Right. And if I'm not doing it the best, then I'm not going to do it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And did that correlate also with your family growing at the same time? Like, just obviously the family taking and needing more of your time, and you're still working, obviously, so the coaching just kind of had to be pushed off the plate a little bit?
Yeah. Well, see, when I was coaching Zara, for those few seasons, I wasn't a sales manager.
Right.
I was a sales consultant.
Right.
So it was a little easier at that time.
Right.
Right. I still remember Tyler. I had him as a goalie coach, and he goes, "Man, I've never seen someone that can come," and this is very, very unheard of in the car industry, that can come from 8:30 to 4, sell 30 cars a month, and still be doing amazing, and you're coaching.
Yeah.
Because it's, like I said, it's unheard of.
Yeah.
Like in the car industry, if you're doing those numbers, you have to be putting in a lot of hours.
Right.
But just me, the person that I am, and I've been in the industry for so long, it made it easier. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to coach my daughter. And then when I became a sales manager, I couldn't do it.
Right.
Right. Like as much as I would love to, it's just, you can't. And like I said, I take pride into what I do. I don't want to be doing it half. I want to be fully in and fully involved and making sure I get the results that I'm putting in.
From a hockey aspect, at some of these higher levels, coaches are starting to get paid a decent salary where it can become their only job, or maybe they do have an opportunity to have dual income. Are you seeing at the soccer level, for minor soccer? Are coaches being compensated a little bit better versus than just volunteering their time?
If you're a coach with a good club, they'll compensate a little bit. It's nothing big, but we got to look at it this way. Sports, especially when it comes down to here in Canada, hockey is the biggest, hands down. Nothing can compete with it at all. And it's unfortunate. Soccer just isn't at that level where more money can be given to the coaches, right? Where in hockey levels, yes, like it just blows my mind when it comes down to fundraising. Like some of these numbers that I hear that hockey teams are like raising, and it's like, man, here we're trying to raise like 2,000, and these guys are like raising like 20, 30, $40,000. It's just it's tough to pay those coaches then in soccer if there's not financially enough money there for them.
Right.
It might take a bit of time because hockey's been around for a long time. A lot of parents grew up playing it. As the demographic of Canada changes and the sport's obviously growing massively, it could change down the line for sure.
100%. But it's something that's going to take a long time.
Yeah,
right.
But the game also of hockey's been played for
100
years before soccer got big here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, soccer just in the recent years, with Alfonso, putting, I guess, Edmonton on the map, let alone Canada, that it has really grown to where people are really starting to like enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's be honest. You're not going to watch a team that's losing every single game, are you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah. Well, I mean, I might.
I mean,
I watched the Oilers for a long time, and it was.
I was going to say,
this is Edmonton.
I'm a Pens fan, and right now we ain't doing good.
I think the success of the women's national team has actually been a huge growth for the girls' game, especially when they have their home games. Are they still at Commonwealth? I'm not sure. They used to have a bunch there. But.
Yeah, I mean the men's play there, the women play there, but you're right. I mean where the women's game, and I don't know if you guys watch women's soccer. I will tell you right now, it is one of the most entertaining sports to watch.
Yeah.
In soccer.
Yeah.
Like especially when it comes down to the World Cup. Like the World Cup, obviously they got the men's coming in the States or North America, you want to call it, with Canada as well. But the women's World Cup, like we think men are aggressive.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like it's actually very, very enjoyable. And yes, the women's soccer has really grown. Now, I believe they've even got their own league going as well. I know in Europe, their league's it's big.
I think just sports in general in Europe is just more heavily funded in general.
It is.
Yeah. Have you found that with your daughters? Like the number of girls that are participating in youth soccer has grown?
It has. I mean, definitely. So, the club that I was with, my daughter with BTB, they didn't actually have a females program, and I kept talking to Pius about it, and I'm like, hey Pius, you got to bring in he's like, Raj, trust me, we're trying. And now their women's program, because my daughter's team was actually one of the first ones that actually had joined, and now their girls program's just lifting off.
Sweet.
And it's like I said, it's exciting to see the sport really developing women's to where it was when I was growing up. It was nowhere. It wasn't even existent, even for women's hockey.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but I heard it was phenomenal at Rogers Place.
Yeah.
Like there's not one person that walked out was like, man, I wouldn't watch this again.
Yeah.
And same thing for me. Like I said, if they came here, if they had a World Cup or just an exhibition game, 100% I'd go watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much of an impact you mentioned the World Cup next year? In North America, how much of an impact do you think that will have on Canada alone, just having those games in Vancouver and Toronto?
It's going to come down to how the Canadian team does, right? If the Canadian team can live up to where, they just beat the States for their bronze medal in that tournament, which was massive. Yeah. First we got hockey, then we got soccer, if the Canadian men's team can take a big jump this year, or next year, I guess, for the World Cup, it can really grow the sport even faster, right? There's a reason why the U.S. sport grew so big. It was in '98 when it was in the States. I believe it was either '96 or '98.
'94.
94. Yeah, you're right. It was '94. Since then, U.S. soccer's been growing. I don't know if you guys watch MLS. MLS soccer right now it's
popular.
It's popular.
Yeah.
Obviously Messi's there, Suarez, but even before their time, like the game has really, really changed in US. I'm not saying North America yet, but to answer your question, if Canada can make it out of their group stage and make it even into like the quarterfinals or, you know, the final 8 or whatever, I think the sport really takes off even further.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because let's be honest, when you're a young child and you're watching, you know, Canada being your country really take off, you're going to want to be one of those players. Like, I remember playing, street hockey back in the day.
Yeah.
And if I'm in net, I'm like, I'm Bill Ranford.
Right.
Or, you know, I'm Grand Fear.
Yeah.
You know,
Of course.
and now, you know, you're going to pick that soccer star
Yeah.
that you want to be.
Yeah. No, I think it's the international, but then also the pro leagues, right?
Yeah.
So the MLS is a good example. You know, hopefully maybe a few more pro teams can pop up in Canada, because that would probably help as well. I mean, you just think with hockey, I mean, it's also the climate. You know, it's just we've got the outdoor rinks that kind of adds to it. But, you know, when you're watching TV, you've just got all the Canadian teams in the major cities. And, you know, obviously in Edmonton, the Oilers are constantly being talked about, and that does influence young kids.
Yeah.
You know, if you had more pro soccer around on TV and to watch, I think, you know, all of a sudden you're going to have more young athletes that are looking at, hey, maybe soccer is what I would like to kind of lean into instead of hockey, right?
Yeah.
So I think it kind of starts at the top, like you were saying. The international piece is a huge component of it, but I also think those pro teams are pretty important to what kids get attracted to, right? So
Yeah, no, definitely. And then that's where, like, you know, pro contracts start coming out too.
yeah,
You know, like, usually when it's a World Cup year, you know, the best of the best from those countries are going to be playing.
yeah,
And now if they're performing, well, guess what? You know, if we have on Canada 4 or 5 players that are just having a phenomenal tournament, well, these bigger clubs are now going to take them. Right. Which is a good thing for the sport, because now these these fans are going to start following those teams, and they want to be like these players too.
yeah,
You know?
totally. Yeah, the only maybe negative of it is it makes people, you know, look at sport in an even more intense way, which trickles all the way down, because now it's not just, you know, having fun and enjoying it. It's like, oh man, like I'm thinking about that contract.
Yeah.
Right? I'm thinking about the potential to and the soccer contracts are even bigger than a lot of the hockey contracts.
And that's, and you know what? It's funny how you mentioned that. The other day I was thinking, I'm like, what, Connor McDavid's making, what, 9 million? 10?
Can't
not
remember
much.
his current deal.
Yeah.
But
Maybe currently, but then it'll be different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but regardless,
but,
let's say it's in that ballpark.
Yeah.
And he's the best hockey player right now.
Yeah.
Next to Sidney Crosby. But he's one of the best players right now,
Yeah.
on the ice. 10 million nowadays is nothing compared to what baseball players,
I know.
you know,
Yeah.
or even football.
Yeah.
Basketball, actually.
Basketball's, you know,
Team
that's up there.
size is a bit, well, NFL, massive teams, but the disparity in football is pretty
It's massive.
crazy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that those sports are, you know, so I guess it's also because they're so big in the States too.
The
The
fan
TV
base.
money.
TV, exactly.
It's TV
That's
money,
where
like
their
basketball
endorsements.
is the TV money over in Asia and
Yeah.
stuff now. It's massively grown. The contract's grown massively since they got the TV deal in China, I believe.
Yeah. But I mean, that's something the NHLPA is always bringing up when they're trying to renegotiate the CBA, is that comparison, right?
Yeah.
Like our superstars are not making what the superstars in the other big sports are making, right?
Not even close.
Or even golf with the Live Tour, and some of the
Golf
money
might be
that's
the
just
most,
gone.
the worst
Crazy.
sport to be well, there's not that many guys making money, though.
No.
Right.
Unless
Like,
you're the
it's
top.
really small. Like, even on the PGA Tour, there's only like 125 guys keep their card every year.
Yeah.
That's not even a quarter of the league.
Yeah. No, it's pretty wild. So, I mean, we obviously want to make sure we talk about breaking the silence,
Yeah.
and let's kind of go right back to the start of when you started getting, you know, even maybe the first sort of thoughts around getting, putting that together.
Yeah. So April 5th is going to be 11 years when Surgeon, you know, his life was taken due to suicide. I still remember, you know, sitting upstairs in the bonus room with my family. You know, Zara was just, at that time, she would have been like 2. And something just didn't feel right that day.
Yeah.
You know, like when you have that feeling and you know, it's not right, it's not right.
Yeah.
And I usually don't get those feelings at all. And I was sitting upstairs watching a movie, and I don't even remember to this day what that movie was. It was terrible. But I always have my phone on silent, even, you know, today. Always. I hate hearing the ring. And that day, I don't know why I had it on the ringer. Pick up the phone, and it's my good friend Sarb. And he's like, hey, have you talked to surgeon lately? I'm like, nah, like it's probably been a couple days or, a week. Like I just haven't talked to him. And we were supposed to go on his stag in a couple weeks because he was getting married. And on the other side, I'm hearing him, getting emotional. And I'm like, man, like what's wrong? He's like, man, I don't know. Like, what are you doing right now? I'm like, I'm at home. Just come. So he comes over and he's like, man, like I'm hearing like something happened to him. I'm like what could have happened to him? I think within about half an hour, there was about 15, 20 of us good buddies that are there. And everyone just like, man, like, what are we going to do? What do we do? I'm like, okay, I'm going to call his uncle. So, I pick up the phone and I call his uncle. And on the other side, like, that's what changed my life forever. He's like, yeah, your brother's no longer here. And I'm like, what? Like, obviously, I was just in shock. Mm-hmm. So I get off the phone and I'm talking to these guys. And I'm like, man, like, yeah, like, took his own, like, why? Like, what's going on? So at this point, like, we had no idea why, what the reasoning was, what happened. And, like every day, then the worst part was the funeral wasn't until the next weekend, right? So it was like having a brick on my head and I just couldn't move. Like that's how devastating this loss for me was. And emotionally, I was just a wreck. And every day everyone's coming over to my house, and I didn't really, like, obviously I can't be like, hey guys, I don't want to see anybody. Right. But, everyone's coming over and we're chatting, whatever. We went over to the family's house and, his obviously parents are just devastated in a wreck. And this is when I find out, that how he had taken his life. And his dad was going to show me where. And I'm like, no, I don't want to see it. And I left. Sitting in the funeral, like, it was, and I still remember everything, like, seeing him just lay there and just, I'm thinking, like, why did you do this? Like, why you had everything going, you're about to get married, like, it was just hate. It was pure, sheer hate. And for that moment, that time, I was like, he was selfish. He was, arrogant. Like, why would he want to do this and leave this for us? So after the funeral, a few weeks later, I met with his sister, and his sister, like, we obviously broke down, and she told me everything. She's like, you know what? I couldn't tell you or your friends that he was, going through these suicidal moments. They absolutely tried everything to try to get him help. Every resource, they tried. And at the end of the day, like, he took his life, right? And he, I guess, had tried other times too. Now all the signals come back of, like, he had other attempts. I remember this one time him coming in and his neck's all, and I'm like, what's wrong with your neck? Mm-hmm. He made up this BS story or whatever. That's when I started to think real deep. And I was like, you know what? If this happened to him, this is obviously happening to a lot of people. Because 11 years ago, I was not touched by mental health. Happy-go-lucky guy, good circle of friends, good circle of family. He had money, he had everything going. And I'm like, this is what they say 1 out of 5 are touched. And I'm clearly one of those that have been touched now. Yeah. So how am I going to make a difference in society where I want his name to live on? Now, like, after I found out what had happened, how it happened, like, his family really supported that hate and stuff that I had. Like, why did he do this? Was long gone. Mm-hmm. Now, was there something that I could have done to prevent it? Absolutely not. To this day, I will not say that I sit here with regret. For me, it's how can I continue to break barriers and to silence the stigma? Because 11 years ago, it wasn't talked about. Mental health was not talked about how we're talking about this now, right? It was, behind blinds and that's it. You cannot talk about it. Right. Where I was like, you know what? He loved kids. He was an athlete, tall, handsome looking guy. Like, why don't we start a run and walk? So sitting around the computer, me and Jag, I'm like, man, there's probably going to be about 5 or 6 easily mental health walks in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I want you guys to guess how many there were.
I guess 0.
You're
Wow.
absolutely right. 0 was the number.
Wow.
And I was in like amazement. And I'm like, how is that even possible that there are no runs or walks for mental health? But now thinking about it, you know, it makes sense because it wasn't talked about.
Right.
People didn't want to talk about it,
Yeah.
you know? So the first year, which was in October, and October was mental health. October is always mental health month or week, you want to call it. I thought it was going to be a great idea doing it in October. You know, his birthday's in October as well. I'm
Yeah.
an October baby.
Yeah.
We never went back to October. And I'll tell you why. It was an absolute blizzard.
Yeah.
You don't
Right.
know what you're going to get at the time of the year.
Yeah. And that was the only day it was actually cold and, you know,
Yeah.
snowy as well too. And he
Yeah.
loved the cold. So we had these tents, and we actually borrowed these tents, and we had to pay them because the tents were just demolished, and it took forever to put them up. But we actually had, I believe the first year we had about 400 people up.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Great
400,
start.
it was an amazing start, right? So then I was like, wow, all right, I think we got something going here,
Yeah.
right? So then, you know, every single year we started to get more and more individuals. We started, you know, our funds first year was Canadian Mental Health Association. We've used CASA, we used Mental Health Foundation, we've used Glenrose. Then I was like, you know what? We now have a name, Breaking the Silence. We need our own charity.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm sure you guys know, getting your own charity takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So we just, as of this year, are officially a non-profit organization, which is big for us.
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, we need to control the funds. We need to know where this money's going. So now we've partnered up with the Edmonton School Board Foundation, where all the money that gets raised, the net profits, they're going to their program with actually it's in high school for their mental health, their program that they have, which is, it's good. It's working for the first year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of projects that I have in my mind that I want to do more of right now. But that's when, you know, I wanted to start doing more events too. So it's not just one event and that's it.
Right.
So now we have Breaking the Waves April 25th coming up at the water park. We've rented the whole water park out. Last year was our first year and it sold out. 750. We have actually sponsors that are sponsoring between 1,000 to 500, and that money is buying tickets for the less fortunate children.
Oh, great.
Right?
Nice.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
So, you know, that, and then, you know, obviously you guys know about the golf tournament, the Surgeon Singera Memorial.
Yeah.
So those are, you know, 3 that we have under the Breaking the Silence umbrella. And like I said, there's bigger projects that kind of working on that we can kind of take this to another level. But that's the reason why it started. And I will tell you right now, if this tragedy had not happened, I most likely would never have started it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They always say you're only going to start something if it affects you.
Right.
And it's the truth.
Yeah.
Right? And the passion I have is because of Surgeon. I want his name never to die.
Yeah.
You know, and I want this movement never to die. You know, I want this movement to be the strongest, and it's the strongest it's ever been. It's continuing to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's for the right reasons.
Oh, it's amazing. And, you know, just, we obviously want to hear about Surgeon a little bit too. Like, excuse me, growing up, like, did you guys play some sports? You obviously were very close. Were you guys teammates as well?
Oh yeah, let me tell you some stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first time I met him, and so he's a few years younger. I was in kindergarten, and me and him, we didn't really know much English, because at that point, like I said, parents first generation, we're first generation. They came, so we spoke Punjabi a lot.
Yeah.
And he comes to the house. I meet him, and I'm like, "What's your name?" You know. And he goes, Sarjan Singh Sangera. To this day, I still remember the kid and how he said it and everything. You know, our bond just clicked.
Yeah.
So yeah, we played soccer together. We played basketball together. Like, I'd be guarding him. Like, he's like I think he's as tall as Sean over here, but like soccer, right? And like the battles we would have would just be epic. And I remember this one story. Actually, one of the guys brought it up a few weeks ago. We're in Calgary for a soccer tournament, and we got kicked out. Like we got knocked out or whatever, and we're just sitting around, And Surgeon he goes, man, why don't you go run in one of those U14 races? And I'm like in my 20s, and I'm like, nah, man, just leave it. He goes, let's go. I'm like, okay, fine, let's go. So we're going. I'm like warming up and everything. And one of the kids comes up, and he's like in an actual running school program, right? These are good. These are 14-year-old kids. They're like, teens now. Yeah. Kid goes to the dad. He goes, Dad, he's got more hair than you do on your face. Surgeon grabs me, takes me, goes, stay away from these kids. They're going to like rat you out. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So the race starts. I'm in first place. And I'm like, I got this. All of a sudden, I look to my right. I look to my left, and I'm like, man, I'm starting to slow down. These two kids beat me. I finished in third. I took this poor kid's medal that was actually supposed to finish in third, and I made him go get my medal. And it was like the stuff that we did together, like it was just amazing. Like I took him to Las Vegas for the first time. Yeah. And I remember we went to go grab some ice, and I looked back, and he's got this big red mark on his head. And I'm like, dude, what's that red mark? He goes, man, I thought there was ice in here, but it was a pop, and it fling back and smoked me in the head. Oh man, but he was me. Like the brother, like we had the same type of personality. Like he was so outgoing, so loving, caring. But it's just mental health. You just don't know what's going on in somebody. Yeah, inside of them. Yeah. Outside you can look great. Yeah, but it's the inside that's where like I said, none of us had any idea. Yeah.
You hear that all the time in these situations where, a lot of people, even very close to the person who tragically, went through it, just didn't see it coming. That's such a common thing that you hear, so. Yeah. I mean, it's, like you said, it was a different time and with what you're doing and, the awareness and funds that you're bringing to this, obviously, you hope that people in that situation can feel like they can, talk about it and not feel like they have to hide it, because that does make it more challenging for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, it definitely does. And that's where, you got to have the conversations even more and more now. Yeah. Right? I was actually on a panel speaking at the university a few days ago, and there's probably about 40 or 50 students that were there. And one girl actually brought up a really good point in the audience. She goes, what I do is I text my friends. All I say is, do you have 6 minutes for me? That's it. And she goes, it doesn't matter what they're doing, what's going on, they're calling. Just to check up, just to see how it is, and that's how important it is, like just to check in, just to see how things are going. But at the end of the day, you just don't know. Yeah. But if we can openly have these conversations with our friends, with our families, I think it's a lot more supportive to individuals that need the support that they need as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you got so much that you're doing just putting these events together, but want to ask, like, what is kind of some of your goals that you would like to see from this? Like, obviously bringing the funds to the school, giving those resources to kids that wouldn't otherwise have them. And maybe, just to add some context myself, like this is another level of like government change. Yeah. But I find it pretty crazy that we're still at a point where you can go to the ER and get covered for any sort of physical ailment, and that's totally covered by healthcare. But if you want to go and see a therapist, it's still out of pocket, or you're drawing on your benefits. So for me personally, I know that's a long way down the road, and that would require a lot of things politically to change. But like, I would like to see mental health be covered by healthcare. Short of that, it's not. So the things that you're doing to provide those resources where people can actually fund seeing a psychologist or a therapist is huge. But yeah, just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on maybe some of the goals outside of what you've already done, which is amazing, of this movement.
Yeah, you know what? So when it comes out to projects, like I said, I mean, you're absolutely right though. Like it's embarrassing. I mean, we sit here in Canada right now saying that if I need to get some help mentally, I can't if I can't afford it. Right. Right. Where there's other countries that are supporting it. Yeah. Right. Like, as sad as this is to say, like we're not a third world country,
Yeah.
right? Like we should be a powerhouse in all this stuff.
Yeah.
But and I'm not one to, I'm not a politics guy. I absolutely I despise it. I don't like it, right? But when it comes down to what I can do, that's what I can focus on. That's where my energy can be.
Yeah.
Because if my energy starts drifting away to, I need to make a difference with the politicians and all that, well, it's taken away from what I've started.
Yeah.
Right. And what I've started is the movement to break the stigma around it.
Yeah.
Now we have a project that we're going to be releasing soon. You know, we can start getting obviously grants for this project. And what we want to do is we want to start putting in a room, you know, at the university levels or, you know, other facilities where it's like basically a legacy project for breaking the silence. And in these rooms, you know, if people need to get counseling, they can go get counseling in there. It's kind of like a peaceful area for them to go. And this is kind of a project that, you know, it came to my mind. I'm like, we need to do something like this, start putting in these facilities, right?
Yeah.
And then once these are in, well, now we can start using grant money if people do need support, that we can, you know, fund them as well too.
Right.
That's, you know, the idea behind it. Now we also have scholarships. We are actually just introduced this year that we still haven't released it, but we're going to be releasing it real soon. Is 3 children that are graduating from grade 12 that are getting into the mental health. They've done some volunteer work. They will qualify to get $1,000 towards their tuition. Right?
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, I mean, every dollar nowadays, you know, tuition being where it's at is going to count.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of kids will have that opportunity to try getting this. You know, it's kind of like a pilot project, if you want to call it, which I know is going to go great. So it's 3 this year. It may go to 5 next year or 6, you know, because I know we're going to get sponsors for that for $1,000. You know, one sponsor might do all of them, but me being a business, if I find out that someone is doing something like this, I'm going to say, hey, put me down for $1,000. I want to give the opportunity for this child to be good in the community because they're doing good.
Yeah.
Right. So those are the things that, you know, I'm really focusing on to really take breaking the silence to another level.
Right.
Because the events, I can do these things with my eyes closed now. Like they're so easy to run now.
Yeah.
It's now making even bigger impacts on individuals. And, you know, I'm not no superhero that I'm going to save the world. It's not going to happen. But if we can start saving 1 or 2 lives each year, we have done our part in society.
That is saving the world, though. You're saving someone.
100%. Yeah, 100%, right? I mean, there's some people that have this ambition. They're going to save everything. You know, they're going to eliminate poverty and all that. It's not going to happen. I want it to happen. But that's at different levels. I can only control the controllables. Yeah. And which is in my control. That is what I can control.
You'll start with one and then let it build what you've clearly done over the time. I think that's awesome. One thing I want to make sure just for anyone listening, we had an episode with Aaron Brennan. There are some hotlines I know people can call for free of charge. I think we'll make sure we include it in the show notes on this episode as well, because that's really important to know that there are some resources to go to, just so no one feels like they're always stuck out in the cold. Yeah,
absolutely. Even like at our run, June 14th this year, we have over 30. No, I shouldn't say over. I have to unfortunately max it out at 36. So we have 36 organizations in the mental health and wellness that are there. So essentially, you know, like private sector companies or even like CASA, Glenrose, you know, mental, they're all there. So I have 3 huge 20 by 20 tents that are set up where we kind of have it fun. We give each, you know, participant a passport. So they go and talk to every single one of these booths to get information, and then they get entered into a draw if they went. But the feedback we get from that, and that's one of the main reasons why we want it. So obviously it's free breakfast, free lunch, the 5K kids activities, but it's the message behind why we do this. And it's with those 36 organizations where people have benefited by getting, you know, in touch with organizations. Because let's be honest, if I was someone new and I had no idea, even like a newcomer, or even living here, and you know, depression was something I had, well, I knew this organization was there to support it. Well, there you go. Now I got my resources. Right. So a lot of those resources are there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge part of it, just knowing that they're out there, building that awareness.
Yeah.
Right. And man, if you can meet a few of those people and have a good experience and a good bond, because when you talk about the stigma, part of it is, you know, again, through the sport angle, you know, it's like you just don't want to look weak in front of someone, even if that is a professional.
Yeah.
It's getting that off your chest sometimes is very difficult. And if you find someone who you feel like you can actually trust and confide in, that's a difference maker.
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes down to it, weakness, I believe, is if we're not talking about it.
For sure.
Right. That's my perspective on it now.
Yeah.
You know, and kudos to all, not all, but, you know, athletes that are coming out now, athletes that are speaking about it now. Because let's be honest, nowadays, like kids or even us, if it's a big athlete that comes out that, you know, starts a new trend, we want to start it too.
Yeah.
You know, so these athletes now are starting to speak about, you know, the mental health that they have, you know, mental health that they've gone through, which is a big thing, right? But speaking, you know, like I said, if you speak, I believe is tough. If you hold it in, you're not tough, right? And you're not showing toughness either.
Right.
Being vulnerable is the strength.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. That's the biggest strength.
Yeah. And bottling it up is just proven to make it worse.
It does, right? Like for me, I'll, you know, just share a quick little story with me. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I can talk about it because I have no embarrassments to talk about it.
Right.
Because I know what I went through is an addiction. You know, an addiction is something that can destroy your life, or you fight it to control it to win it. Right. And that's what I've done. I've won the battle. Right. And like I was telling you guys earlier about the alarm clock. Yeah. I ain't gonna let that alarm clock win ever. Right. So why am I gonna let this addiction win? It's not gonna happen, right? So, you know, 3 years of sobriety, you know, definitely I've had, you know, in the earlier times of moments of, hey, do I really want to continue doing this? You know, I've had a couple of relapses, but did that make me weak? Not at all. It only made me stronger.
Right.
You know, knowing that I know what it takes and the mental power it takes to get to where I am today.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's amazing that you've conquered that, and thank you for sharing it.
Yeah.
I think I might have put my foot in my mouth a little bit about the resources. I know through healthcare, if someone's in a really bad spot, like if you are suicidal and you go into the ER, they're going to help you. So I just want to make that clear. Like, there's a level where you will get care. To me, it's more the preventative and the maintenance care that isn't covered. And I would like to see that covered, because you know, we don't want to be just treating people when they're on the edge. And that goes for the physical things as well. I think we could do better with that too.
I'll tell you this, you didn't put your foot in the mouth at all, because it's facts and it's the truth, right? Like, I have, you know, family members that are in the mental health field, and they said, man, it's breaking. It's breaking down. Like, there's no funding that's coming. And you're right. You need to get the support earlier, not later. That's where, like, the whole, like, I'm all about grassroots. We need to start educating them at a young age, right? The amount of people that come that are children to, you know, the walk is amazing. You know, everyone's heard of Terry Fox Run. Everyone knows why the Terry Fox Run is there, right? But that's where I want to take Breaking the Silence to that level, where people go, Breaking the Silence, that's for mental health awareness. People talk about it. This is what it's all about, right? But the grassroots is where we need to start. We need to start teaching them. We need to start telling them that it's okay to speak about it, because us growing up, we never had that at all, right? Was it our parents' fault? Absolutely not. It was society, right? But we want to make society now in a way that any person that needs the support, any person that needs help can talk about it, and we can get that support for them.
Well, and whether it's depression or cancer progression, right? The longer you wait to treat something, the harder it's going to be to treat it.
Absolutely.
Right. And if you can get proactive and identify things earlier, you got a way higher success rate of turning them back. Yeah.
Like, just to kind of piggyback on that point, at the U of A, when I was there a couple days ago, there was a psychologist, exactly what he said. He goes, sometimes it's unfortunately too late for when someone comes to see them. Right. Where we need to start earlier. Like, I'll use breaking my ankle. If I don't go see the doctor that day, this thing is probably not. I'm probably not even walking on it. Right. Yeah. It's just not. So why can't we do that with our mental health? That if we have that feeling of depression or anxiety or whatever it is, right, that we can start getting the help that we need.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and even before that, like you said, if it's in the schools and it's just something that people are being made aware of, just, the same with, we're doing a better job with some of the things that obviously can cause cancer, and being mindful of like, hey, like these are the things that you should avoid. This is the lifestyle that you should live. It can go, like you said, right back to the grassroots.
Yeah.
Where, it can be a proactive lifestyle to just decrease the chances of even getting to those places from the onset.
100%. Yeah. No, you're bang on that point.
So yeah, it's amazing what you've done. We've obviously loved participating,
and we'll continue to
events, and we'll continue
trying to get a team roundup.
Yeah,
for sure. Gonna have to get signed up for the walk here right away. Is there still spots open for anybody listening
for the walk?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the walk's unlimited.
Okay.
Nice. We just have a deadline of May 15th.
Okay.
I think it's either the 15th or 14th we have, and the reason for that is just because we order the shirts.
Yeah.
Because everything is free. Like, it's a community event. And the reason why we keep it free, and I'll continue to keep it free, is in case, let's say, someone is struggling, but they just don't have the financial money to come out for this. I don't want that, right? I want this. We have a lot of great sponsors, that sponsor these events. Like this year and last year too, Lakewood Chev is our presenting sponsor for both events. Awesome. for Breaking the Waves and this. So sponsorship is something that if someone is looking to become a sponsor, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like you're doing a great thing for the community. And when it comes down to the shirts, like I said, that's all free. That's why we want people to register. And just the day when you get there, the environment is just like, it's so amazing and upbeat, right? Yeah. We have a great DJ, my good buddy Shami. He sets up, and it's amazing just to see the smiles and people out there for the right cause. That's awesome. Not just to have a free hamburger.
Yeah, totally.
If someone wants to find more information to sponsor or participate, where can they find that?
Yeah, they can go on our website. It's breakingthesilence.com. Everything's on there, from sponsorship packages to signing up. I know April 25th, that's our first one at the water park. So, we still have a few tickets left for that. And that's another thing, like going to the water park, $40 compared to, I think it's like $70 or $80 a person. It's expensive, So we had it, like I said, last year, and everyone was like, man, you have to have it again. Like, it's another thing to do in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And it's for a great cause and great reason.
It's a good family-friendly event. You can bring everyone to, and then get the message out.
You think you're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But really, you look out and you're like, wait a minute, it's in Edmonton. The cold.
Well, it's a super cool variety of events that you've put together, and it's awesome to see the momentum that you've created. And then, also just wanted to ask you about the recognition that you got during the Oilers game, or before the Oilers game recently at the South Asian night. And just, it's great to see that, these things that you've been working on for so many years now are starting to be noticed at that type of level.
Yeah, like for me, like it's not for me. It's literally for Breaking the Silence.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like it was very flattering to be recognized for the work that we've been doing with Breaking the Silence.
Yeah.
I know my good buddy Tony Brar with the Oilers. He was talking to him actually a few days ago at the event at U of A, and he goes, yeah, like they asked me, like, on this list, who can you say, that deserves it? And he goes, man, there's not one person that stuck out but you.
Wow.
And then obviously Arjun had a pretty big part in it as well, and everyone, the Nervals, like there's a list of people that just that have been with Breaking the Silence for all these years, and they've realized where it's come. And like you said, I mean, being honored wasn't just for me, it was for everyone. That's that's on the movement.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are on the big screen. You guys are part of the movement as well.
Appreciate you putting us up there. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I had to show that there are champs and we're diversified.
Yeah.
You know, but no, it was good. Like, they put us, in a nice box. So I had the whole family out there.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, and just, I mean, obviously the result didn't go for the Oilers that day, but just being there and knowing that we're there for breaking the silence was, like I said, it was humbling.
Yeah.
In a very simple word.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good spot for us to wrap up, and really appreciate you coming here today and taking the time to chat with us. It's been an awesome conversation, and super glad that we met on that plane back in 2022. So
I still tell people that story, right? The way we met,
Yeah.
Going back to the bathroom, and all of a sudden, I look and I'm like, is he watching the game? And then I'm like, hey, do you mind if I watch it? It's funny because I'm a huge Brazil fan, and I had already told my family, I'm like, listen, if Brazil's in the final, you guys are getting on the flight, but I'm watching the game, and then
I'll join you.
she'll join you guys, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, it kind of sucked, but I mean, I love Messi to death, and
Yeah.
seeing the result that he got, good for him. The GOAT of all time.
Totally.
But thank you, WestJet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Palm Springs, for putting us together.
Totally. No, and thanks for coming. And hopefully we can get you on again for a round 2 someday. So
Done deal.
really appreciate it.
100%. Thank you, boys.
Awesome. Thanks, dude.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raj. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
To help support the community, please visit our website at usports.community and follow us at usportscommunity on all social media.
You can also follow and rate our podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Audible. Subscribe and like our video feed on YouTube.
Links for all our platforms can be found in the show notes.
Best way to help grow the usports community is to comment on and share our content with your fellow parents and athletes.
This episode was produced by Nick Hussey of Hussey Multimedia, and hydration was provided by Earthwater.
The youth sports community is proudly presented by Nuance Hockey and Mah Golf.
Nuance Hockey provides detail-driven on- and off-ice development in the Edmonton area. For more information, please visit our website at nuance.hockey and follow us on social media.
Mah Golf provides elite coaching for golfers of all skill levels at the Millwoods Golf Club in Edmonton. Our apparel is provided by Burton Barley, prairie-inspired, golf-focused. To receive 15% off your next order, please visit burtonbarley.com and use our promo code YSC15.
We look forward to you joining the community next time.